And we don't have to talk to the camera. We can talk
Yeah.
to each other. So,
Sure.
so you're Tom. I'm Jeff.
Jeff,
And
how you doing?
once again. So the question is what do you think happens after we die, and how did you get to your belief about that? So wherever you're at with that, you know, love to hear your story if you have one, or just
Okay, so I grew up as a Catholic, and did the whole confirmation, first communion, the whole shebang, and I was kind of a regular churchgoer, like while I lived in the house, until I was like 18 or so. And I just kind of, stopped going. Just I didn't become too faithful anymore. And
did you move away? Like
well,
go
just
off to
after
college or whatever? Or?
Yeah, just after I moved out of the house, you know.
Yeah.
And also my family is pretty diverse. My dad is from Chicago. My mom is from Vietnam. And on my mom's side of the family, I have it's very mixed. Myself, my dad is from Chicago. I have a couple.
I'm gonna set this a little closer just in case. Yeah.
I actually just got back from visiting them.
In Vietnam?
No.
Oh.
My grandparents now live in Iowa City.
Okay.
And I just got back like 10 minutes ago.
Oh wow.
And some of my cousins, they're mixed with like Iranian and Vietnamese. So they're like they're Islamic, obviously, and like my grandparents actually are Christians.
As in not Catholic, Protestant, maybe, or
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, Baptist, whatever.
Actually, they're probably Catholic.
Oh, Catholic.
As far as it's like Vietnam is a French colony, so I think the French brought Catholicism there. So I think that's what they.
Where are they from?
They're from Saigon.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of faiths in my family. And like growing up Catholic and seeing my cousins who grew up in Iran, and I have a couple cousins that grew up in Iran and a couple cousins that grew up in Kuwait.
Oh yeah.
And
is that confusing then, or?
That's what I'm saying. I guess as I got older, and I kind of was like not as faithful as a Catholic as I was when I was younger, and seeing my cousins grow up like in another religion, and like kind of all the stuff that goes on with them, like in that area, it's like pretty volatile, you know. And I don't know. I guess it kind of made me question like religion, like as a whole, you know. And it was just like, not that it's bad to be faithful to a religion, but it seems like there's like a lot of turmoil, you know, like in that area of the world.
Yeah, like the Middle East, you mean?
Yeah. It seems to be rooted in religion, you know.
Yeah. And oil is thrown in the mix a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes it's like hard to reconcile like what religion stands for. A lot of times, then like the violence sometimes it brings out, you know. And it's.
So it sounds like you. Would you say you've given up on religion, or you're just kind of like still?
I mean, myself, I'm just kind of like. I'm just not really like.
And I was
like religious, I guess. You know, like.
Do you think you ever were? Like, when you were growing up Catholic, would you say you were more going through the motions, or?
Yeah, I think I was.
Yeah.
You know.
Would you say you believe in the supernatural? Would you say you believe in God, for example?
Guys, I asked you before. I apologize for the extra change. I got to hit the metro. I don't even know if it's gonna come at 8:45 or 11:22. I'm sorry to bug you, man.
Yeah, didn't have any change.
It's not like, honestly, it's not like something I really think about. Like, I can't really say for sure.
Is that
like, it's not like?
Is that by choice, or is it just, hey, I'm just caught up with other things I'm busy with?
Yeah, I'm just like
it's
just
not
trying to. Yeah, I'm just like living life, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
Just.
Do you feel like you have a purpose in life?
And just like, you know, once you're gone, it's like, I can't really say if I'm like, I can't really say what happens like after you're gone. You know, I'm just like.
Yeah. What do you think would have to happen before you could say what happens? You know. So here's a way to look at it: is we live. I don't know how old you are. What are you in your?
I'm like. I look young, but I'm 37.
37?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I would have said maybe 27. So you're probably old enough to realize that, man, life is starting to go kind of fast.
Yeah, true.
Right?
That's true.
I actually had a near-death experience, not a spiritual one per se, but where I thought I was going to die, and the biggest thought on my mind was, wow, that was quick. It's all over, you know? Like,
right.
Like, this life really seems short, you know?
Yeah.
And if there is an eternity, if there's, you know, I try to keep like have an open mind. I believe there is, but I would encourage all people to have an open mind about the possibility that there is an eternity.
Oh, I'm not like saying that it's like, oh, no way, there's no way it's possible.
Yeah, so you're open-minded.
And I wouldn't say like to you like, oh, you're completely wrong for thinking that.
Right.
You know? Like, I don't think that like. I think that's probably maybe a root of why like religions are kind of like prone to violence. It seems like
when people get dogmatic
like,
about their
people are just like not like open-minded.
Yeah.
And they just like have this view, and they're not gonna waver like at all. You know. I'm just like, you know, I just go with the flow. You know, just like if you believe in something, like I'm not gonna like say that you're wrong for it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'll tell you, the goal for my conversations like this, as a Christian, I would love everyone to be a Christian, because it's really been, I find truth there. I believe it's true. I want that for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But my goal for this conversation is not to convince you or anyone else, you know.
Yeah.
It's more, I find a lot of people have rejected Christianity because that have rejected it don't understand it to begin with, you know. So I like to find out, you know, like, what do people believe about it, or what are their other beliefs, and you know, to try to correct that. And I believe in God. I believe God works in people's lives and hearts, and if God's going to change someone's life, you know, that's between that person and God. It's not something. So I could never begin to, you know, like say because everyone complains about, well, people want to like jam religion down my throat,
right?
You know, and hear that a lot. And I hear that a lot because it happens a lot, you know. Whether it's your parents trying to force you to believe, or, you know, someone like in a Christian school or church or wherever. So I try to have these kind of conversations and hear what other people believe, and try to speak into that as a Christian, you know. As far as like, what would it take for you to actually, I guess, would you say you don't care about, say, the eternity and where? My point was about, you know, like, life is short, is that eternity is long.
Right.
And so, just logically speaking, even if you're open to the possibility, you're not sure about it, or you don't have a belief about it, if you're open-minded and open to the possibility of eternity, you know that we're going to spend a lot more time there than here. And so it makes sense to, you know, look into it, and to learn as much as you can about it, you know. So, like, would you say you've looked into any religions, or, you know, even understand the Catholicism you grew up in, like, you know?
It's like, it's not really something I really think about, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure that I am interested in looking into it. And like you said, like I understand that, like,
Yeah.
I kind of see, like, there's an end in life, like it can happen like whether it's like by natural causes, you live to be like 100-something years old, or I could like I could get in an accident in like 10 minutes and like I can go.
Yeah, we're not guaranteed.
Like, right. And it's just like, I don't know. In some ways, I almost feel like, you know what, when it's over, it's like I just want it to be over. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, like that's it. Like what would I do for eternity? Just like it's like my spirit is just gonna like just be there. Like
right.
Like what is eternity really? Like
I'll tell you the way I look at that, because I have heard people say, well, I think heaven would be boring, right?
I don't know if it would be boring, but it's just like
you're there forever.
Yeah, it's just like what is it?
Because I don't know if you're like learning more about like the universe and how big the universe is.
Oh yeah,
or how small the microverse is. Like as far as like on either direction you go, it's like way more than we could ever fathom.
Yeah.
So the Bible actually teaches that we can learn about the Creator from the creation. And so if God is the creator of this vast, infinitely large universe, or infinitely small even, minute and detailed, God must be pretty interesting. I would like to hang out with God for eternity. I mean, if that makes sense. So
yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah. So yeah, and I just wonder, like, do you feel like you have a soul or a spirit, a part of you that?
Man, I go back and forth with that, like.
Yeah.
I
guess
said,
that
like,
would
again,
outlive your body, is what I'm getting
just
at.
Like I said, in one way, I'm just like, like when you're over on Earth, it's like, just like end it, and then I'm again, on the other hand, it's like, well, like maybe you do have a soul, and maybe it's just gonna be like, it'll be up there forever, and like, what is it? And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's just like you said, it's like a whole lot to fathom, and it's like,
a lot to take in.
Sometimes it's just like why not live life here? And just like, just do it.
Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Yeah. And
that's not. I don't know if this matters, but like I'm not like like I don't use drugs. Like I don't like drink a lot of alcohol. I don't like. I'm not like a big like. I don't really live an extravagant life. I just kind of live simply here.
Yeah.
And
you seem like
I'm
a pretty chill guy.
Yeah. I'm just like, it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you feel like, so are you familiar with the ideas from the Bible that there is a heaven, there is a hell, there is a judgment day, God would be our judge?
I think that like from what I remember growing up Catholic, like I feel like I think one thing that was like, I don't know, maybe it changed, like religious education has changed since I was young, but like I felt like it was a big scare tactic.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone.
It was
a lot of people do.
It was like, all right, you have to be good. You can't sin, or else you're gonna be damned in hell for eternity. Like you said, for eternity, you're gonna be in hell. And just like that was a turn off for me.
Yeah. I could imagine. I feel like different, whether they're Christian teachers or just people who are trying to teach the Christian message, maybe it's a... Did you go to Catholic schools or anything?
No, I went to public schools. I went to CCD.
Yes, okay. I mean, they,
to go through the steps for like I said, for the First Communion, confirmation.
Yeah.
And all the good stuff.
Between parents and Christian teachers, and even in like CCD, I imagine there's some out there. I'm sure there are some out there who really view that threat of hell and punishment and stuff as a way to manipulate you, so you'll be a good student in class, or you'll be a good child, or whatever. I think it can be abused,
Oh yeah.
I know it can be abused, and I know it has been abused, One thing that I don't know if you're aware of this, is that, where does it come from? They didn't just make it up. The Bible talks about this a lot. And Jesus actually talked more about heaven or hell than he talks about heaven in his teachings, And he said that the way is broad that leads to destruction, and many are on it. And the way is narrow that leads to eternal life, and few are on it. Which leads me to believe that what he's saying is a lot of people may end up in hell and are headed that way, and don't even realize it. The reason I say don't even realize it is because the vast majority of people I talk to think that if there is a heaven, they're going there. So I think it's worth looking into, even if it's not true. It's worth, even if it's just to understand how other people view the world, maybe how other people are trying to come across to you, or have tried to in the past, and for the sake of, that is what the Bible teaches, even if it's been abused by people. So I will say, let me ask you this, Tom, what, so it's a scare tactic, you don't like it.
That's just kind of what I remember. It was so long ago.
I don't blame you for not liking it, but what would be the way, or how would you express, what don't you like about it? I mean, obviously it's real negative, right? But I'm just wondering in particular.
Just for that, and then I don't know, I guess, like I said, just after realizing there's a lot of diversity in my own family.
Oh yeah.
And then just knowing that, it's a whole huge world, with 7 billion people.
Yeah.
And it's just how can you say there's just one way of thinking is the right way,
Yeah.
And like you said, you gotta be open-minded,
Yeah.
Just because you're a Christian, it seems like you're a devout Christian, but you seem open-minded,
Well, I know better than to try to force anything on people.
Right. And I'm not gonna this is no indictment on you, but after this, this is a good conversation.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm
you're not gonna do
it's pretty cool that I met you.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not gonna I don't find myself being religious after this.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But I think it's cool that you're devout to it, and it's your way of thinking, and
so if
that's
you're
you,
if you're open to a different perspective, it sounds like you haven't thought much about it. I could give you, a little bit, in a nutshell, a little bit of a Christian perspective that I think a lot of people, including yourself, probably hadn't thought about. That I think might be helpful. Just something you hadn't considered before. And I would just encourage you to, keep, start, maybe not keep, because it doesn't sound like you've been really, actively seeking spiritual truth, but that you would, it's worth the effort, So the thing I guess I'd like to say, if you don't mind, is I feel like the idea that fear, that is kind of they're trying to scare you into being a Christian, fear can actually be a healthy thing, if if you were a parent and you're walking down this sidewalk and you had a child, you would, and say it's a rebellious child, you might have to describe the details of what would happen if that child runs out into the street, right? And you would be doing it because you know pretty well for certain what would happen, if it was just some sudden move out into the street, and maybe the child needs, this vivid description, or some children do. I wouldn't say all of them do. Maybe they operate best by hearing, what would happen if you run out into the street, And so I think the Bible has some vivid imagery of what would happen if you enter eternity without a right relationship with God, because that's what it's all about. Is and I don't think it's. I mean, it's basically the Bible is trying to describe, like spiritual realities in physical terms, because that's all that the English language can. That's all we have words to describe.
Right.
And so it's written in ways to describe. All I know is hell is described as a very, very bad place. Some place I don't want to go. And heaven would be a very good place. I believe it would be, like the Bible talks about being with God and in His presence, in a right relationship with God, not being punished by Him, but worshiping God and being. It's not like God's there to serve me, so serving God, but living out my purpose for existence, the reason God made me. Maybe we, like some people would say that's boring, but but that's because they want to be entertained, or something. So what's your idea about like what does Christian, like the Catholicism you grew up in, like how can a person go to heaven? Like what do you remember about that, or what do you know about that?
Yeah, it's like just like don't sin, I guess, and like just try to live a good life. Just be a good person.
Yeah, which
it's kind of vague, but like I guess
which is pretty much true of.
Like you said, it's like pretty much any religion.
Yeah.
Tell you, just be a good person, and then you'll have a good afterlife.
So I want to respect your time, so I'll try to make this quick. But all religions basically teach that you'll be rewarded somehow, in some way, for your behavior, for good behavior, or somehow punished or miss out, with bad behavior. So it's kind of like this cause and effect thing.
Right.
So then I would ask the question that you're asking is like, okay, I've been exposed to all these religions. Why would I pick one? Pretty sure that's kind of like your thinking, right? It's like, why is one any different than the others? So if you were to look into all the major religions of the world, like if you believe that, and I think it's logical to believe that there's truth in. There's got to be something worthwhile in all the religions, for them to exist for so long. But then again, they contradict each other in what they teach. So I believe what makes Christianity unique, that's different from all those other religions, is it says we can't. There is a better life to come or punishment to come, but we can't earn it. Because the good things we do, we should do. So I can't like do enough good to deserve heaven.
Right.
And part of the reason for that is because I've already done some bad things that makes me deserve punishment. It doesn't make me deserve heaven, So if most religions are saying, well, if your good outweighs your bad, Christianity is saying, well, your good can't outweigh your bad, because the good things you do, you should do anyway. Bad things we do it with a full conscience. We know better. This is also Christian teaching. Is from the very beginning in the Bible. It talks about Adam and Eve, and the result of their rebellion against God means all of their descendants, all people, whatever religion they're from, or no religion or whatever, everyone has a conscience. Like we all have this sense of right and wrong. we may disagree on it, but we all have that sense that, you know, certain things are right and certain things are wrong, and we all break it. So it's like we know what we should do, but we don't do it, or we know what we shouldn't do, but we do it, you know. And so Christianity is saying, okay, you knowingly did wrong, and yet you still did it. You can't pay for it with, you know, the good things you do. When I say pay for it, I mean justice would require there's got to be a consequence for your behavior, you know. And so it teaches that God is a good God. He loves people, you know. I don't want you to think that it's all this technical stuff, but he loves you, but he also loves justice, which means on the one hand he would want you with him in heaven, but I'm pretty sure you've probably broken some of those laws, you know, like the Ten Commandments. You ever told a lie?
I don't know if I know all of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to give a
Right.
few examples.
Right.
If you've told a lie, if you've ever stolen anything, if you've ever used God's name disrespectfully, so you've broken God's laws knowingly, can't pay for it with your good deeds. How can God's justice be satisfied? Because he loves you, but he also loves justice. There must be a just punishment for the crime, you know? If you think about a judge in a courtroom, his job is to make sure justice is served. If he's a good judge, he'll judge accordingly. And so he wouldn't just look the other way when there's a guilty criminal there, and he wouldn't just say, oh, I see you're sorry for what you did. He would say, okay, you should be sorry for what you did, and here's the consequence, you know. It's my job as judge is to make sure there's the consequence. So God loves justice. He invented justice. He would say, well, there must be a punishment for the crime.
Right.
But I'm willing to take off my judge's robe, if you will, to go into a different role and take your punishment for you. Kind of like, you know, you did the crime in a courtroom scene, and the punishment is a fine, but someone else comes in and pays your fine for you. So in Christianity, it teaches that Jesus is God in human form, taking our punishment for us. So that's why I say we can't earn heaven, but we can still go there because of Jesus, not because of our own efforts, you know. And that's what makes Christianity unique. It has a savior, you know. All the other religions, it's like I call them like works based. If you work at it, you can achieve nirvana or achieve a better life to come, you know. So I think that's probably kind of overwhelming to think about all that. You look a little bit.
No, I mean,
Does it make sense?
It's kind of like what I. It's bringing back the memories of what I learned growing up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think it's important, like I say, to to have a belief about eternity and to have a reason for that belief. You know, like, you know, they say, I think it was Socrates that said, you know, the unexamined life is not worth living. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it's important to examine, you know, like not just what do I believe, but why do I believe it, you know? And along with belief comes disbelief. So why do I disbelieve what I don't believe, you know? It's pretty hard to reject a religion if you don't understand it. So as a Christian, I would like to, you know, help you with an understanding of Christianity. Someone else might want you to understand another religion. You might, you know, take the bull by the horns and start doing some reading and looking into, you know, things on your own. I'd encourage you to do that. But I can give you I usually, like, when I talk to people, I find out kind of like where they're at, you know. It sounds like, I don't know if you're interested enough, but I have a book that talks about, it's like a comparison of different religions and what they teach, and it compares Christianity to them. Would you be interested in something like that?
I mean,
It's free. I don't have.
Yeah, but I don't think I would read it.
Okay, I appreciate the honesty. Yeah. Just for lack of interest kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I'm just... Not that I don't think it's like... Yeah, like I said, I'm not like...
You could say anything, I won't be offended.
I'm not saying you're full of bullshit or anything. But like...
Yeah.
I'm just like... I'm just not really into it, really, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'd encourage you to, and challenge you to, but that's totally up to you, of course.
Yeah.
So, appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, it was good.
Can I, I'll give you my card. I have my website where I post the videos.
Sure.
Is on there. And also that's my number. And I really, really appreciate the conversation and would love to talk more.
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to you to call me, but love to treat you to coffee and pick your brain a little bit more.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, Tom?
Sounds good.
All right. Very good to meet you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Take care.
You too.